there's supposedly an onboard memory on this camera, and I don't know, maybe I've got it set up so that it only hits the memory card, but if I don't have the card in it, it doesn't work at all. I was trying to see if I can make it easier to understand my camera by pulling the memory card out, because it opens up to a different memory automatically, and that's problematic. Well, after the energy of making Thanksgiving dinner, eating it was harder than I expected. And I don't know, I still feel like I should be able to eat like I used to 15 years ago or whatever. And honestly, I just can't, and I certainly can't process this much food well. So what's going on with the game? Well, the rebels are looking, and oh, I know why I pulled the memory card, with the hope that the amount of time left would be automatically available, because maybe the onboard memory would show me that was the key reason. But anyway, I think the Confederates want to keep the initiative. The advantage of going again first is that I get to recover these guys before the Union can attack, and maybe I can launch some attacks against weaknesses. Now, their only current weakness is really here at Nashville. They were able, if they don't attack, they basically can recover what they want. But I think I can continue my push against the west flank, and otherwise everything looks pretty strong. Now, I could also pass and be more reactive, but there's some risk here, and I don't see any great advantage to doing so. Alright. If you're on the defensive and you have a lot of APs, you got all your units built, there isn't a whole hell of a lot that you necessarily want to do. I mean, I'm doing kind of an offensive action over here. I don't have enough oomph to do a lot of other offensives. I have the APs for it, but I railed the unit into here, getting out of the Richmond area. But I just don't see much reason, for me to be spending APs moving other things around. These guys probably can move somewhere. But, yeah, I'm going to launch basically a couple attacks here and try to keep driving the Union back. And, because this is my riskiest area, so I want to keep this strong and keep the push, keep shoving the Union back from there. And elsewhere, I really just have to hold the line. That's all I really need. Attack I forgot to tell you about, which was into Nashville, and we've managed to clear out the Union completely because we were able to get such numbers. Here we had cut their retreat, which was important, but here, even with the retreat, they still took a 1-4 result. Now, for the Confederates, it means a lot of armor is getting wiped out, because it's cheaper to replace an armor than to build up the core again. The Union's in a lot of trouble, because the Confederates have just broken open a path to start taking away action points from the Union. I have to be kind of careful. Taking cities is not trivial. It's not just move into them. They have to be attacked, which means, I probably want an armored unit to take a loss or something along those lines. And action points for the advantages and everything. But I can start cutting into the Union action point total. Remember, if I can take 3 cities, that's 3 action points right at once. And then from then on, it's 1 per city. But less than 3, doesn't matter. I think that's it for the Confederate side. And shit, I forgot to count my points. So that was 1-4, so that's 3 points Confederate right there. I think I had a 1-2 somewhere. No, that can't be right. I don't know. I don't know where I am. But I think I'm several points in the advantage, which means the Union's not going to be able to get the initiative back easily. I can kind of surmise from how this is playing out This is that's a hard game to get things back under your control once you start losing that control. The fact that the Confederates have a higher action point total at the beginning of this scenario, well, and forever, it's just a matter of if I lose cities, yeah, I mean, if I start getting really wiped out. But this one, the Confederates are a lot stronger, but they have to get 6 U.S. cities, including one major center, kind of deep in. This one's the opposite. The Confederates really have to kick ass, basically. Occupy New Orleans or clear all territory west of the Mississippi. That New Orleans is quite deep. West in the Mississippi, well, that would be similar to what the Confederates are kind of doing here. But the Union has a heavier point total. But the problem is your replacement points come from your action points. So if you want to rebuild units, if you want to get that Union Army up to the strength that it needs to be, maybe you can't launch an attack right off the way I did. Certainly, I didn't realize how difficult the attacking would be initially. And, one round of attacks by the Union in a little bit of time gave me enough information where the Confederates could really wail. They've gotten, at this point I have kind of a concept of what the game is, how the game works mechanically, but I didn't when I launched those first Union attacks. But, yeah, I mean, the fact that the Confederates have more points means that they can recover points quicker. Basically, the Union has to put the Confederates on the rope on that first turn, I think, or they're going to be in trouble. They've got to get the Confederates into a position like this where they're going to have to spend points to get their replacements. And now it just looks ugly for the Union, to tell you the truth. I don't know if I'm going to finish this game because it looks like it's going to turn out to a wipeout, but I'll certainly play quite a few more turns. And I don't know if I have the will to do more scenarios of this. This is a very much a thinking competitive players type of game. Not really my style. I finished my Union movement yet, or other things that I have to go backwards and try to refigure. But as it stands right now, oops, I gotta spend this. This was actually an accident from last turn. Remember, I had 3 extra points. I didn't know where they came from. That was supposed to reform. Well, we'll forget about that right now. I've switched my axis. I'm no longer going to move through here or through the south. I'm going to try to batter my way to Richmond. Remember, Richmond counts as 3 cities in terms of APs, so I can take some APs away if I get there. There aren't a lot of Confederate cities up here, but if I can get 2 of them, that puts me in a position where a threat anywhere is open, and it doesn't matter what the Confederates capture, except in terms of my APs. So, unfortunately, this means an amphibious attack here, and I need this to, well, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be in affecting terrain anyway, so maybe I don't want to throw that unit in, because that'll make it more expensive to get shifts. And then I got an attack here. I thought about putting an armor in, but you can't stack armor in the rough, if I recall correctly. Yeah, armored cannot stack. So, and I hope I don't have any forts in rough terrain. I think I was clever, paying attention to the rolls at that point a little better than I am now, it seems. But yeah, I'm hoping to kind of bust things open here in the east and force the Confederates onto the defensive. So we'll see how that works out. I think I've got enough points to attack still. You just gotta see. And maybe I'll build another unit. I'd love to get an infantry or something into St. Louis, but no matter what, it's going to cost me 4, because it's either real infantry, new infantry, or armor that I'd be buying. Problem I'm facing is this attack's going to cost me 6 action points. I got 16 left. Just to make an even attack in affected terrain. That means that I have 10 left, 9 of which I can use because I need one of them to recover this board division. It's only a division left. Which, is like 5 and 4 or whatever as it stands in terms of the plus bonuses here. And I'm going to need those plus bonuses, so I don't think I have anything else left. So let's take a look here. So I spend 6 and 5, let's say that's 11. And I am at, there's a core here, so +3 on affecting terrain with +5 on the die roll. We'll hope this is good enough. 9, 10 would have been a lot better. So I'm facing a 1 to 2. I'll take the armor. Actually, he has to lose first, I believe. He takes a 2, he'll take that retreat with a disruption. I've got to take 1. If I want to cross the river, I've got to take an armor as a hit, and that takes one of these back. It's still going to be Confederate advantage. And now here I'm just attacking with this. That puts me at +2 on affecting with +4, so that I have the 1 for the disruption. Oh, that's not great. But I get a 9 again. Another 1 to 2. We'll say that's about there. A 2. I retreat. I could actually even retreat here if I want to. So there's no zone there. He's got to take a 1, and unfortunately, that's going to be, I'm just going to disrupt my army. It cost me 3 points to recover. That's cheaper than anything else I can do. Now I have 1. I can't recover this. I didn't save. I had to recover earlier. That's what's there. Because you can't recover right after you attack. And that puts me now into game turn 4. With the rebels holding the initiative again. And they definitely have to go first. And they feel like, yeah, we got to do something to try to cover Richmond. Because we're kind of getting our butts kicked over there now. The thing I wanted to say, geez, why I don't like the thinky games. The amount of thought that I do and the amount of effort that I have to put into playing is sort of the cost, right? The fun for me is seeing what happens and seeing the mechanisms of the game in play and all that, and the story that they tell. So if I have to burn my brain thinking to play for 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is that I'm playing here actually, if I have to spend 10 minutes thinking about a 5-minute move, well, that's basically 10 minutes cost for 5 minutes of mechanical action, right? Now, I don't want pure mechanical, but I do want to be able to kind of relax and not be thinking that much. And that's what I love about, your great battles of history or whatever. There aren't a lot of points where you really have to think. Most of it kind of comes automatically. Boom, I'll do this. Boom, I do that. And that's actually true with some of the bigger games, too, that require a lot of thought to face. And this is sort of the situation that I was facing with Vietnam, which was I'm sitting there really heavily considering, where can I make my move? Where on the board can I do something? What do I have to do? Again and again. And I just want to get away from the game when I'm spending more time thinking than, doing the play of the game. Now, I know that's the opposite of what a lot of people think. Another thing about the camera, just because, I'm as interested in how that works as anything else. And I wonder why the little light's not on. It looks dark in here. With the camera, it has the operating system takes a while to load up. That was my problem with the little white camera. This one, which looks exactly like the one I'm holding, except with less labels on it. This is the one I was using before. I just click it open, boom, it starts up right away. My oldest of the Virios took a while to load up too. But it's like, there was this peak period where they were really good, and this looks like it's from that, and that's why I ordered it. Yeah, it's not quite old enough. It's got stupid touchscreen and other problems that I know are just asking for trouble. I'm probably gonna have to, I don't know, I may give this all up. Because my thought is I'm gonna have to try to find another camera, but you know, I'm just not willing to piece around looking for shit that I don't know if it's going to work for me or not. So the camera is of more interest to me than the game, to tell you the truth. Gotta get back to a train game or something that's fun. Yeah, I mean, again, I can respect this. I can understand why people would actually really like it. And I don't understand its low rating, except that maybe there are a lot of gamers who don't like this kind of thinking. Right, once you get the initiative, it's really hard to give it up. Well, maybe I'd like to let the Union cut its own wrists somewhere. I can't afford it because I've got a weakness here that the Union could react to. I find that kind of an interesting thing. And I'm finding the game incredibly hard to come to play. I'm not sure that there's much that I would enjoy coming into play. I got 1824 just recently, maybe that. I'm not blaming the game at all. You know, yes, it's dry, but I think I would get a kick out of this sometimes in my life. Right now, it's a very, very difficult time for me to take much pleasure in anything, and I'm just dragging myself to it because I've got, you know, a lifetime's worth of games to get through and not a lifetime left. In a lot of ways, it looks like the rebels are, you know, doing a kick-ass job. This is a real defect that the Union found, and there's maybe another one here, which is I've concentrated so much military power over here that it would be hard. I don't have much in the way of reserves. I have some armor. That's all I could rebuild. And the fact that these are in core formation means I can't just rail them over there. I'd have to break them down first and then rail the divisions. And again, it makes sense, but wow, it definitely chews things up in terms of you know, having left this a weak enough front that a few reinforcements could make a significant difference there, whereas here, you know, all the strength was here, so you had to go big to win it. Well, the losses that the Union took are in a way something of an advantage, perhaps, because they gave them the flexibility to shift the axis more easily. The rebels, however, are not abandoning their strategy in the west. I'm continuing to push against a couple of cities here. Probably try to kill that unit for what good that does, but maybe launch an attack here, I'm not sure. That's getting... So I've got 15 points for attack. I'm sorry, 16 points. That would leave me with a +5 on each attack, which is pretty good. I can't really afford the losses here without a breakdown, but a breakdown may not be the worst thing in the world for me. I'm going to need breakdown units to garrison stuff, and I'm out of infantry. And I'm going to need to be able to reinforce in the east. I did recover things, moved an armor, or built an armor in Richmond and moved it. And just trying to roll up this flank and see what kind of damage I can do that way, while doing what I have to defend the northeast. I'm sorry, the southeast. I did 2 of my attacks. One took Lawrence. Oh shit, I forgot about St. Louis. Damn it. Oh, and I made this attack already. Crap. Whoops. Well, I definitely need to attack St. Louis to take the defensive structure away from there. I was looking... It's so easy to get confused in a game where you've got to balance a number and keep it in your head all the time. I was looking at launching an attack against this thing because I've got it surrounded. It seems like a great idea. Oh, and I've taken no losses so far, which is fantastic. And I was looking at the balance between hitting this with 2 units. This is the same cost, whatever I have left. 2 units, which would put me on the +6 table at +4. +3. No, +4. 2 units at +4. So we'd say, hey, you're probably going to hit around a 7 or 8. The surroundings might happen, though, you've got a span that you look at. And I just do too much damage. I don't need that because I've got the surrounding situation. Whereas the other option would be a +3 hitting from this unit, where I could make a +5 to the die roll and get myself up into here, the 8-9 region, spanning this, where I'm almost certain to destroy it, and I'm not going to take more than 1 loss anyway. So keeping the odds lower would make more sense. Unfortunately, I made this attack and have to make a choice between St. Louis and killing a unit, and I'm not sure which to take. I mean, troops will definitely show up in St. Louis if I don't advance there. So, yeah, I fucked it up. Ended up taking St. Louis. And now the point total is up above, I took a loss, though, on that one. And again, I didn't want to break down the core. Core are too valuable. You really want them for attack. You basically get really good numbers on the odds chart if you put a core and an armor together to go off and hit 1-point units. That works out really nicely. And then you throw in a lot of bonus. I didn't have enough. I couldn't split the attack or something like that, because making attacks on the low odds is fine, on the low differential. Making attacks without your maximal bonus is dumb. You're going to pay costs for that are more expensive to recover. So you can kind of see I've been playing this more as an attrition type game than otherwise, making these cost calculations and everything. How many action points is going to cost me to get things back? Obviously, territory is important, and that's in mind. But yeah, it feels like the core element here is how much can your opponent recover of what you have. You probably can't very well completely. I'm wondering if I want that armor unit instead. I could take the casualty as a disrupted infantry. Because I'm going to need garrisons, is my thought. Why don't we fix that? Put a disrupted infantry here and a dead one here. I've been considering the whole game in terms of, hey, how much is it going to cost my opponent or me to recover from these losses? And I think that's what you have to do. You have to recognize that like some of the big World War I strategic games, the core element here, yes, there's potential for advancing ground. It's not trench warfare type situation, but the core element is an attritional one where if the enemy has enough points, they can rebuild it. If they had an infinite supply of points, they could rebuild their army every turn and hit you with it everywhere. So it's that limitation and controlling the action point costs on both sides. The Union position at the end of this, build up some defenses, try to prevent the Confederates from striking too deeply into our territory and taking too many of our action points away each turn. Luckily, the West is rather sparse and not that important. Of course, they are driving away from that resource hex victory condition. But they got to kind of push out here as well. They can't just clear the Trans-Mississippi area and focus here. And we've set ourselves up so that we have a hefty attack on Richmond, which is not going to be affecting terrain because we flank it here. So, unfortunately, this armored unit, it would not have been able to go any further. It is a threat to Richmond itself. I may not throw it into the battle. I bought it to throw into the battle, but I'm not sure because that increases the cost significantly of getting shifts. And I'm not going to focus anywhere else, even though I'm technically on the attack in the scenario. The situation just does not look like that. So I'll probably be leaving the Confederates with initiative again. This is where I get myself into trouble, though. Look at how many action points I have left. Now, I spent 3 of those, I hope, which should be here, on forming up this corps. I could launch this attack on Richmond, but I gotta have something more I can do here. And there are places I could throw more reinforcements or something. So I've got 15 points left, and this is what I should have done before I moved all my pieces, right? 15 points left means I've got, let's say I attack with 2 of these hexes, a 6 against a 4. Well, that puts me on the +2 table, non-affecting, which is okay. I can add 1 for the unit. I mean, this is still going to be an expensive attack, so that's why I kind of like left it in the air. But I kind of have to do the whole move and then rewind and try to see what could I have done and then fix that. That's just the way my mind works, as opposed to calculating out the entire turn, basically playing the game twice each turn. So I will be paying +1 just to make the attack. That leaves me with 14 points left. It's going to cost me 12 points to get the +6 modifier, and I think I want that. I want to bust through this as much as I can. So I've used up 13 points. That gives me 2 more points. There isn't a lot I can do with 2 more points. I can't even move this core out of the way. I could go to a +5 modifier and get myself 4 points. 4 points is useful. So I think I might want to do that. Yeah, I'm losing a bonus. I'll leave it as it is with that +6 bonus. Let's see what we get. And basically we're wasting a couple action points, but I got nothing I could have done with them as far as I'm concerned. That looks good. So an 11 gets me a 1-3. That gets me 2 of these spaces back for whatever that's worth. And a 1-3, well, the Confederates can't take a disruption without taking the retreat too. And the retreat loses me the fort. So I will... there's a lot of zones of control back here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have to move an infantry into place. So I'll take an infantry unit as a loss. No, I have to take 3. Shit. Okay, the Union has to attack first, or has to take losses first. So we break down, and we take our 1, and we have to disrupt the other unit. Oops, don't throw things away. I mean, if a unit goes in there, it's gone. Division goes in there, it's just disappeared from the game, basically, if it goes in there as a loss. But now the Confederates have to lose 3. Well, 3 for the Confederates. I cannot hold the hex. I can't retreat. Oh, I can retreat into here. There's no zone. Excellent. There's no zone because I don't own the bridge to begin with, but also I don't have enough unit to create a zone. So a 3 would send me back 2. And I cannot take the loss on the fort, I think. I think the loss on the fort only counts if it's being attacked alone. So let me look at that. The way I read it is that the fort, it has an intrinsic one loss it can take if it's alone. And the reason for that is the loss you have to inflict in order to get into that space. So we will get rid of an infantry as well. And that's a pretty good move by the Union. That pushes the turn up. And again, I feel exhausted by this. This is a system that if I was playing this against someone else, I probably wouldn't be playing it very competitively. I'd probably be doing shits and giggles. And if they were kind of, not a very competitive player, I'd be okay and I'd be trouncing them with it. If they were, like as smart as I am or smarter and willing to pay any attention to the game at all, I would have to expend so much more attention. And this is like an inability to pay attention really on my side. I would have to be paying much more attention, I think, than someone else who can do the thinking at the can. I don't know how to explain this. Once I get my patterns in a game. So, for example, once I learned that little bit about, hey, bonuses are better than odds, or better than differential. So you want to spend more action points rather than commit. You want to spend your action points on committing to the bonuses on the die roll rather than to bringing more units in, and the odds just increase the risk basically. Once I kind of internalize that, I can work on kind of a certain pattern, which would get me through against many people. But there's basically I can focus and do maybe some of the stuff that someone who's more disciplined in general can do. But very disciplined people can spend a lot of effort and really work really hard and fail completely because they just never kind of capture some of those basic concepts. Even if you tell them, they just don't manage to internalize them and understand them well enough. And they think, oh, odds will be better or whatever. And, but yeah, I would not want to play this opposed against somebody who, was a competitive player, simply because I'm not willing to put the effort that costs me. And does that mean I'm stupider? I don't know. There's like this block to doing that effort, even when it's very limited. But yeah, I mean, to play this at its best, I think you have to calculate out all the AP that you're going to spend for the whole turn. I came out lucky here. Yes, I wasted a couple, but I think it was the proper action to take. I came out lucky in the sense that my mind jumped to the right conclusion more than, the die roll or anything. I just feel like it was an act of God that, like, I got to the right answer. And that's the case so many times for me in things, is that, I just intrinsically sort of see that right answer, and I can't even explain I can't do the work for it to explain it out fully, or more precisely, afterwards I could explain what my mind must have seen, but it's like I'm not really paying attention and doing that counting. It's just coming to me. And that's the level I want to play at. I don't think this game generally does that, though. This game generally, I think you do need to have that precise count. Anyway, why am I babbling so much? Because after a turn of this, I'm burned. It's a turn takes fucking 5 minutes a player in terms of the actual actions and everything, but I just feel totally wasted by it. It's like when I come and do that operation in Vietnam, and I'm like, yeah, can't face another one. And similar to Vietnam, I actually respect the game, but don't think I'd enjoy. I don't enjoy playing it solo because I feel like I need to think harder, and playing it opposed, it's going to be a blowout one way or the other. It's either someone who, I think in general, someone who, I haven't met many people who work on the same level that I do. So people are either far inferior in that they just don't get sort of these base concepts, and they're not able to operate on them, or they're much more easily capable of doing calculations, a level of calculations that I am unwilling to do. Now, there's sort of a weird in between. I've noticed this with some games where I feel like I'm actually failing to capture something. Like there's something that, and there I am stupider, right? There's something that I'm like maybe aware of and can manually calculate out and figure out, but, and Monmouth was actually one where this came to play. For some reason, the fire tables for that were more complex for me. And same thing, obviously, with Wellington's victory and Ney versus Wellington, the other games of the series. There was like something that got in the way of me just automatically assessing what I want to do in terms of firepower. And I found myself trying to calculate out, which guys I want to skip and stuff like that, which is very different from, say, a Terrible Swift Sword or CWB or whatever, where I'm just like, here's the chart. It's pretty obvious where the lines are. Let's do this. Do I want to split fire in games that allow that? Well, what's the odds of, a miss and everything? And I can do all that thinking at a very, very automatic sort of way, but I had trouble with it in the Ney versus Wellington Monmouth situation, where I saw someone else who was able to make those calculations much more easily than I was. And some of that's just familiarity with the game, but I'm really not sure that you can get familiar enough. Like, you're going to miss the edge cases here. And the edge cases are more important than, hey, did I waste a fire point or two in the overall scope of Terrible Swift Sword for a turn? Here missing a potential attack, which I did, or something along those lines, that can be pretty devastating, I think. Of course, there's planning, and then there's deeper planning in a game like this. And it's all kind of numeric still. I'm looking and seeing, hey, and I think we've hit this with the Union. I'm looking at the Confederates. I think they're going to be taking the initiative, as I mentioned. And this unit here, well, I am garrisoning a city with a full corps. I have to get a brigade, a division or a brigade up there, preferably a division, to garrison that, or I have to spend $3 to break it down, and then into essentially 2 garrisons, so that I have a garrison, say, for Kansas City as well, plus the cost to move and whatever. But the big thing here is I've got a limited number of units, so I'm not going to be able to, just indefinitely create units. The Union looks like it's got a ton of extra units that it could use for garrisons. Again, it was intended to be on the offense in this scenario. So I'm not really set up as the Confederates, just due to the scenario itself, to be this successful anywhere, right? But it does put you to the, hey, I've got to do something now about my unit mix, etc., that I didn't think about too much when I'm looking at, hey, let me drive forward. Yeah, those corps are great. And now I need to split my units up so that I can garrison cities, because I can't just leave them empty. They revert if I do that. And I also have to worry about stacking situation, right? So, I mean, stacking isn't checked until certain points in the turn, the unit formation phase or whatever. So I could move a division up here, stack it with this, and then move the core out. If I do it in the other direction, I lose control of the city. So that's an important consideration based on the sequence of play. Not as dangerous as it could be. There are some games where the sequence is set up so that I would have to break the unit down. That would be my only out. In this case, I just have to be a little careful with what I do. I don't know what the Confederates are doing. I mean, whatever harm they cause here is unimportant. What they have to do is prevent the Union from making any breakthroughs anywhere. So far, they haven't lost anything. At least there's that, right? Danger of matte finishes. This never used to apply to me, but now that I'm a pipe smoker, you can get some nasty stains on them that don't just wipe off. No big deal. I don't plan on reselling, but whatever. So this is the Confederate position, and because the Confederates are able to build all their units and kind of do everything they want to do, yeah, I might want to break this down and move it somehow, but I don't have a good answer for that. I'm looking at launching a... I don't remember what happened. Something happened. Mainly I shifted forces over to try to defend the Richmond area. Launching an attack here at Kansas City. But I can't really make a lot of attacks. I just don't feel like I have that flexibility. I mean, I could have probably set these up to try to bust through here and cut things up there. Notably, I see no real value to trying to attack this. I don't have enough zones to cut it off and destroy it. So I'm just pulling back to Atlanta and giving that a little bit more sturdiness so that there's not an easy breakthrough there. In fact, I'm not sure this unit should even be there. These one unit without zone of control type defensive spaces. You know, my thinking was those, you know, following normal wargaming type standards, those are sensible things. I'm not sure that they are. You know, if an attack is going to be launched down this way, this thing doesn't do shit to stop it. What do we got here? A fort? No, we got something that's building, which I haven't built yet. I got to pay those action points. But I think I'm going to have enough action points to make my one attack that I intend on making. You know, I'm just kind of run out of reasons to use my points. I like that situation. I'm not a big fan of having to plan things close to the edge. And as long as I can't see anything I want to do further, I don't have to think too hard. Indeed, I was actually kind of close to the edge if I wanted a 2-hex attack, but then I looked at the numbers. I'm like, you know, just attacking from 1 hex works better. I could have done even better. I had enough points I could do the 2-hex attack using just the armor from here and the infantry from here, and that would allow me this advance, which is kind of sweet. And let's rearrange that. Now, because I'm not making a lot of attacks, it's actually possible that the Union could grab the initiative here. But yeah, we're built up here. This is a fort under here. This is a core. We got another core there. So we got a pretty solid line in Virginia. And then over here, you know, I'm doing this threat thing that doesn't really affect the victory conditions. But the Union does not want to start losing action points. They're low enough to begin with. All right, on to their side. Northern Virginia is as hard to move through as it was historically during the Civil War. You know, if it's well defended, it's a painful area to chug through. Basically, I have a choice of a river assault here, which with just 1 hex, which is painful. Now, I'd be looking at something like the -1. No, I can't even make the attack because it would be affecting terrain. I might be able to launch an attack here against the affecting terrain there and try to outflank the Confederates. This disrupted unit causes me so much pain because I can't combine the units, and therefore I'm left with that weakness there. So it's going to be very hard for me to get a good attack on this fort. Now, right now, it's not that bad an attack, right? It's on the 0 table in non-affecting terrain. If I put a big +6 on there, I probably break through that fort. But I can't get anything else there because I can't stack an armor with that disrupted unit. I can't move anything in there. So I don't know if I want to make that shot. Try to break the line over here in this affecting terrain, which would be +3 on affecting, and presumably with about a +6. Again, I could probably move it. I probably can't take it. I think the fort is more important. And then another option, and maybe I can do more than one of these, is try to launch an attack here in the Nashville area. The stuff I have back here, I can kind of give up ground if I am willing to spend the points to move units. I'm not cut by any supply lines. I could pull out of here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I could try to bust through this fort or something and open things up there and kind of leave this big opening. If the Confederates want to go ravaging around in Illinois or whatever, yeah, I don't really care. That's not part of the victory goals. It could cut my APs. And it's not like I can't put some nominal defenses up there. The real limitation being my APs, not the units that I have available to build. So I'm in this kind of complex decision process of the type that I like to decide, which is what front do I want to operate on, where do I want to put my weight, etc., rather than the numerical analysis of how many action points do I have to do something, and how to affect specific attacks or something. That all comes in, but that comes later after I make these core decisions. And the core decisions may be wrong, based on the action point calculations. And then what do? I don't know. I go with my gut. Oh, I think I bit off more than I can chew. I don't have to make all the attacks, but I'm set up to make an attack for the flanking or an attack on to directly try to punch through towards Richmond. I didn't build a lot of units. I built a unit in Cairo, but other than that, I left things kind of alone and swung around so that I'm in position to attack this fort as well. That's 3 different attacks, some of them multi-hacks, possibly. So this is problematic. I spent all my APs that are forced, so I have 17 points. That's 1 attack. This is a double attack. That would cost 1 plus whatever I want to throw in. This is, I don't know which way. Probably a singular attack. I couldn't slip up here and create another core. I could have dropped out of there to do so, boink boink, or come down from Louisville. But I was already hitting too many attacks as it was. I think my core concept here is I want to focus here. This breakthrough, maybe. We'll see what I have left. But doing this, I probably want to make both attacks. And so I think that's where I'm going to go. And we'll see if I can save anything to make that 3rd attack. A little behind, perhaps mistakenly. I made this attack fairly and destroyed the Confederate Corps, and you can see the 2 divisions in the dead pile. And was there an advance? There probably should have been an advance. Dear. Just to get me to the edge of the mountains so they can't slip somebody else in. But that didn't leave me with enough points to make 2 attacks nicely. So I made this one at like +4, I think, and got a crappy roll and got damaged. And then I made this one at +2 and only got damaged. So almost nothing's happened. I've the Confederates an AP if they need to move their armor into there, which is almost meaningless compared to what the costs were. If I had put in the full +6, I would have actually gotten the fort, or if I had put it in over here, I would have gotten the breakthrough here, which is less important. Instead, I went half-assed both ways, hoping for some luck, and shit on myself. That leaves initiative in the Confederate side. Had I made 2 good attacks, I might have shifted the initiative over and been able to get kind of a double turn against weakened position, and I think I threw the game away with the Union just there. On top of that, so, I mean, yes, my first turn learning experience, hey, how does this combat system actually work, was very expensive. There was a chance to recoup that with this offensive up here over the last couple turns. And now I think I may have kind of thrown that away. But it's hard to tell, because as long as the Confederates are chasing something up here for no apparent reason, it's a weird situation because it's not no apparent reason. These forces probably would need to be covering the oil fields no matter what. So I don't know, but this was definitely a turn where there was a high opportunity for the Union that I think they threw away, and there might be some possibility for the Confederates to maybe bust back and hurt this unit, hit it with enough damage that it has to take losses. Similarly, maybe this big corps could be wiped out somehow, and that would really throw the Union back on a bad footing. Of course, there is still some time left, so who knows. But again, playing a turn of this, even though the very few pieces move around, very little happens, is exhausting to me. It wouldn't be the same way in an opposed game, again, because I probably would just kind of blow off that thinking. Here in turn 6, Confederates strengthen their position there. I got a new corps showing up here to defend the Virginia salient a little better. Broke up things here, not continuing the push in the further west regions, but I am setting up an attack in Illinois to destroy that unit, and it's opening up sort of this possibility of an advance, up in Chicago, Wisconsin area, so that the Union has to worry. Now, last turn I actually screwed up. The Union was back a point. They've lost 3 cities. Elsewhere, was there another attack I was going to make? I was kind of thinking, hey, it would be nice to take advantage of this disrupted unit, whatever. But I think I want to pivot and try to crush the Union West a little bit more, rather than focusing on picking off, trying to get lucky with picking off something. We'll see. I have a lot of action points left, so that was the 3 that I was tracking as I have to keep. I don't have a whole lot of strength up here on the Virginia front line, for whatever that's worth, but getting this corps together means that I have some possibility of trying to cut around and do an outflanking over there as well, depending on what happens. Let's reposition this and start. Well, we only have 1 attack. Maybe. We'll see. Ended up having points left over anyway, but I made 2 attacks, one better than the other. This one worked quite well, destroyed that unit, and now the Union has to worry up there. Spend some of their limited points on, preventing this from becoming too ugly in terms of the loss of cities. Although that's not a victory condition, the entire Union could fall. There should be some automatic victory conditions. There are rules for if the enemy is in all of your cities, so not that. And let's see, I did another attack across this river though, and all I did was manage to retreat. I had like a +7 to the die roll. All I managed to do was retreat a unit. And I did it before I realized I should have probably gone to +8 just because I could have, and then I would have taken no losses for it. All I did was cause them to take a disruption and retreat. They were already disrupted, so no big deal. Whereas I would have had to either disrupt my entire force, do a breakdown and disrupt, or just lose an armored unit. And the armored unit felt the less dangerous of the choices, in terms of defending Nashville, and isn't that much more in cost. So actually, it should be less in cost. It only cost me 4 to replace this unit. If I did a complete disruption, it would still cost me 4 to replace the whole force. So no biggie there. Again, the Union's eyes were bigger than what it could face. Ran my way down on action points. Building up some defenses, light defenses, just to make it a little harder for the Confederates to just grab cities there. But I set myself up to attack this fort and or Nashville and or this unit. Obviously I'm not going to use 3 hexes to attack that unit. I'm just trying to budget to get more power. Grab those 2 Virginia cities. If I can get them and Nashville, that's the game if I can hold it. Even if I lose the Trans-Mississippi and Milwaukee and Detroit and whatever. However ridiculous that may seem. But, victory conditions are victory conditions, and if the Confederates aren't paying attention to them and chasing their own little goals, well, that's, you can disagree with that the outcome makes sense, but you kind of got to follow them. And it's not like the Confederates are chasing something ridiculous here, right? They're doing something that they believe is going to help them and that it would be too hard to reverse. They can't rail out of here. They'd have to walk their way back into friendly territory and then take the rails. So there's not really a... Once I made this push and was successful, everything looked really bad for the Union, and then they're like, different opportunity. But the problem for the Union is I could make this attack one of a couple of different ways. So I can go at the +2 table with 1 unit and be a +6 on it, which is pretty damn potent. And that would cause probably a loss to the Confederates of a unit. Whatever. Otherwise, there's not. 2 points, I can just fall back, right? And that still maintains some of my integrity. If I go to 7 units, I'm at +5, but now I'm spending 1 to get here, and I'd only be at +2 on the +5 table. And this is where the game starts getting weird. So I'd be hitting around here, whereas I'd be hitting, what did I say? I think +6, yeah. +6 on the +2 table, which would probably push me around there as my center. And this is more damaging than this. So I definitely don't want to use 2 hexes of attack. Okay, that out of the way. There's also the possibility that I could attack up here. That would be 4 to 3. That would be +1 over on the affecting table, and I could throw 6 points in there, which would put me in a position that doesn't do a lot, but the ground might be more important that I could gain here. Again, an interesting factor, That might be more valuable to me. What if I put the extra strength point in? What does that do? That doesn't help me much. And I couldn't position myself to get more strength here. This was a disordered unit. I could have put the armor there. But I couldn't get the core in play there. Another option is, well, ignore this. This isn't that bad a position, although this is kind of weak. And I think the Confederates still own that bridge for whatever that's worth, which is very little. I could launch an attack somewhere else. Now, The attack on Nashville is not a pleasant one. That's +1 with affecting terrain. No, it's 0 with affecting terrain. It's not even legitimate. I don't know why I set that up. Probably thought there was no river or something. Here I've got 4. I'd be at +2. And I could pretty much eliminate that fort. And that kind of scrambles the Confederate position better. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to throw the full +6 in there because I just don't think that I've got anything worth going for here. Much as I tried to set something up. So we were at +2. Okay, +6 puts me at 7. That's a 1 and a 2. That is not going to change the initiative. And, well, this is dead, and there's nowhere for it to go. I have to take a casualty. I think the armor is worth taking because I have to advance in order to kill the fort. So we'll do that. Yeah, that's the ticket. And that was the expenditure for the turn. And then over here, I'll get rid of that fortification. Whew. This is somewhat interesting. I'm in a position where the Confederates have the initiative, as they've had for a while. But it's not obvious that I need to go first. There are no disrupted Confederate units. There are also no disrupted Union units. But that can be the case fairly often, depending on casualty choices. So I have to think a little bit more than usual in terms of, it's not obvious I have to go. I chose to do so anyhow because it allowed me to kind of cover things a little better here. Start smacking around this infantry, try to punch my way around the flank and make this Union position untenable, but also to continue the rollover here. I figure if I take a city, that reduces the APs by another 1 down by 4, and if I can cause some casualties, some disruptions, I'm weakening the Union capability to pursue its attack over here, I guess. It's a close call, but it didn't look particularly good to let the Union go. In fact, Cairo did fall, and we pushed some ground there for whatever that's worth. It's not as disruptive as what was going on, when there were Union units disrupted where the main focus of the attack was. It's going to be a hard push for the Union to make its way through that line, though. I think, maybe Richmond falls, but how much more? The thing is, though, there's a large cluster of Union units here that could make a push for Nashville, Memphis, whatever, maybe Atlanta even. And that's why it's important that this pushing keeps happening. I think my plan is to try to pop this fort and take Nashville. I don't have a lot of points. I spent that. That's debt that I want to keep in mind while I'm figuring out what I can move and build, so that I can kind of stay close to the sequence of play. And I'm getting a little more used to doing that. It's complicated to keep in mind. I don't have a lot of points to do this, so if I want to do both at +6, right? This is going to cost 12. This is going to cost 12 to attack, plus another 1. So that's 24, 25, 26 points. I only have 17. So again, I may be trying to do this a little too lightly. Union gets a couple lucky die rolls. They've got the initiative in their favor, and they've succeeded at both things for really minimal costs. They took 1 hit on an armored unit in order to gain this, and destroyed themselves. Not only the fort, but all 3 infantry involved. No. Does not have to be, right? let me make sure. Oh yeah. I got zones everywhere on this. That's the problem. So I had only 2 hits, but I couldn't retreat. So I couldn't take the retreat and or disruption points, which are both options for the defender, but the disruption point only comes if you retreat, and therefore I had to take it in casualties, and Nashville was lost. And overall, this is pretty bad for the Confederates because Richmond's exposed, Nashville's taken, and Norfolk isn't far away. And then there's also threats to Memphis and or Atlanta that are available to me. So it looks to me like the Confederate plan didn't work well, and the Union could just keep pressing on. The Union, having taken the initiative at this point, they also are faced with that question, do you want to go first or second, right? I think it's definitely first. First of all, I can probably take Richmond this turn, although, what is in there? Yeah, there's a whole corps in there. That's going to be hard. But what I can do is I can move around behind it. And that puts me in a position to get towards, because there's no zones here. So I'm just moving. Now here I have to stop. And that puts me in a position where I'm definitely threatening Norfolk. So if Richmond falls, I kind of get both at once. I've already got Nashville. That's pretty damn good. And remember, Richmond's the capital. So it's worth that 3-point shift right away. Just like in the American Civil War, the two capitals are basically facing each other. They're right on the border, so there's a major possibility of swinging things heavily at that point. Other than that, I don't see any real downside. There's no great advantage other than the positional here, I think, to going early, although possibly grabbing, trying to grab another city, but there's only so much you can do in this game. Yeah. So I think that's gonna probably be my almost entire focus, although I may try to shift forces to get, some threat on one of these two. Because we're running low on turns, and the Union is getting damn close to their victory objective. Didn't really realize when I was first chattering there, and I did another tobacco stain here. This wasn't from my finger, it was a piece of tobacco on the map. I'm used to it at this point, but I just want to point out there are some advantages to the glossy stuff that I hate. This here is a major river, and so I've got to spend 6 more to do the amphibious assault there. I do want to do that, but that means I get a +6 here with what I've set up. Now, granted, I spent 4 points on a unit here, 4 points on a unit here, but I'm just not going to do anything else because this gets me the +6 bonus, which is the best I can do. Since this is a key roll, what do we got here? I've got 7 to 5, so I'm at +2 at +6. Let's see what we get here. Okay, that's 1, 2. That gives it 1 in the Union's favor. The Union has to take their hit first. They'll take it on the armored unit, definitely. The Confederates can take 2. I can't take a disruption. I actually don't think I can retreat because I'm pinned in by these major rivers. What it works out as is I break down a corps and destroy it. And so Richmond did not fall. But now we go over to the rebel side. Situation is a little sticky here. I built up some extra units, protected Atlanta and Memphis since they didn't fall. I'm back 4 points because, oh no, I'm not. Oh, fuck me. I'm not back 4. Richmond did not fall. So I actually have more points than I was counting on. And I think I've got to try to do something about that unit. Is that a major river? That is indeed a major river with that bridge. And then this is a major river crossing, so it's going to be kind of problematic to get at them back there. I'm not sure what and how I'm going to manage that. I can't reinforce Richmond because it's all blocked off, and if I don't send an armored unit here, I can't use that bridge, even if I control both sides of it. And, you know, I've got kind of this painful situation over here, but it may be enough for me just to swing the initiative and take it back, so that I get that double turn to try to clear the Union out of Virginia a little bit. More points to play out, because it's going to be +6 for this attack and +6 for an attack over here. I'll talk about that in a moment. That comes to 12, so I've got like 10 points left. I've got 3 committed to building a core there. So I've got about 9 points left that I can move shit with. Probably want to move this, but I may also have an attack instead. So here's the thing. I've got the choice between Louisville and this guy here. What's he on? Cumberland, yes. Sitting there. I could do a dual attack on this, but the big thing was to cut off his retreat, so that I could pop him if I'm attacking him. And I think that's where I'm going, although Louisville would immediately start cutting into the U.S. Action points, killing units. Again, it's all that attrition, calculation. 1 action point for the next 3 turns versus what really is a fairly significant cost in terms of a core that I can destroy. But I'm kind of left with sort of a cluelessness as to what else I might want to attack. If I could get this guy back here, I would. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could attack Cincinnati, and I might have enough points to be able to seize that. That would weaken. I would probably lose a division there. I lose a division and I can't advance. Not good. Will not work. And I'm using my armor here for some reason. I sent it there. Shit. Well, let me keep thinking. Things kind of coming down to the wire here. End of the turn. What I decided to do was to launch the double attack there. I had exactly the amount of points to get +6s on both. Here, an iffy result. I only did 2 hits to the Union, so they were actually able to retreat back towards Norfolk. That's not optimal, but since there's no supply rolls at all, an argument for that was made by the frontage versus the hex size that the units could not prevent. I don't really buy that that's rational. I mean, I'm willing to accept that, hey, the scale is such that divisions couldn't prevent, you from tracing supply through hexes of that size. Here's the problem I have. That's a bad choice then for hex size or for the scale of the game, because clearly there are situations like this where the Union would have one hell of a hard time getting supplies at all. And notably, they're able to disrupt that unit and operate, and they have ammo and everything. There's something wrong with not reflecting the fact that you could surround units, even if the hex size is such that it wouldn't allow the size of the units to do so. The reality is it should be possible to do so, and making that kind of argument kind of starts to show that, well, the game wasn't designed, in a way that it allows it to reflect the reality. But anyway, sticking with the game as written, I chose not to advance here, even though I won Took a little bit of casualty there. No casualty here, which is the thing. Like, I could have taken, it's conceivable I could have taken a casualty and destroyed the Union units, but that, the die roll didn't come out that way. It does give the Confederates the edge this time, and I think I moved this forward. But yeah, it is coming down to the wire in the sense that the Union, is not far from their victory conditions, right? They have Nashville, they're close to Richmond, they're close to Norfolk, but on the other hand, actually affecting them looks very, very difficult. All right, Confederates decide to take the initiative this time. I don't think anybody's refused it yet, except maybe right at the beginning, but I even think the Union grabbed their initial initiative. And I don't have a lot to do with my action points. I bought all my units. I feel like as long as I can kind of strengthen my position, I'm in good shape. So I'm launching an attack here, and I'm launching an attack here. And I may throw the extra units in just because I have so many damn action points. We'll see how the chart works. Sometimes it's not to your advantage to throw an extra stack in, because you're raising the risks. And here, hey, I've got the +2 for disruption and everything. I might be able to guarantee a pretty good roll. It might be better for me to be lower than high, where I'll be taking damage. A 3-point loss, I'll break up that unit into just a division at the very least. I didn't realize this is a major river I'm pinned up against, and yeah, I just destroyed there. So that was successes on both battles. Louisville has been captured. The threat down here has been eliminated. The Union is not in good position at all. I don't see them winning, but we'll play it out. It's not like the game is that big a time sink. It's just I'm very unwilling to play, and I don't know if that's this game in particular, or obviously I was a little bit more willing to play the 18XX stuff, but I want to be able to play things that aren't 18XX. So we'll see. Because of the losses on the cities, Union AP is down to 30. Again, there's probably enough to focus on one front or something, gain 1 hex, but to do much more than that is tough. It looks like a route to victory here. An attack on Richmond and an attack here on Memphis. Now, the points aren't great. Not at maximum value. But if either one works, that's pretty cool, actually. And putting a +4 on each one. Maybe there was some luck, I'm not sure, but I got both. Hard to retreat out of here. I could do it over the river, but that's a full hex side, so it actually ended up destroying all Confederate units. Now I lost an armor in each attack, but the Union have their victory conditions right now. The game's not over, but now the Confederates have to dislodge the Union from something. And the question is, when do they want to go? Do they want to go first? In which case, the Union gets a chance to, if the Confederates take something, gets a chance to retake it back or go after something else. So, like, I could hit Memphis. Well, you can't retreat out of there without being disrupted, and then you can't go advance into anything else. I'm just trying to see. I don't see any case where that is really an issue. If I take Memphis, the unit might retreat to here, and then 2 units could hit Memphis, which would be kind of the issue that could come back. On the other hand, letting the Union fortify could be a real mistake. I don't think they can get anything down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, they can get an armor and reinforce Nashville. And they can certainly reinforce Richmond, and Richmond's going to be real hard to take. So, I think probably Nashville is my best location to hit, and I think the Confederates are going to take first shot at that. Confederates have I spent for the attack already, but I've spent a bunch of points getting units into defensive positions, and now I'm hitting here. I'm only hitting with 2 of the hexes at +6. It ends up on the +4 table at +6. Otherwise, I'd be at like the +6 table, and yeah, I don't know. I'd probably get like a +2 or +3, but I would rather get the big plus. I think that's more guaranteed to drive the Union out of there. 10 gets me to a 1-3. Not that it matters. This little track. 1-3. Well, 3 will kill this if I stand. I'm not allowed to retreat. Not too worried about Union units transferred into there. It looks like I have plenty of losses to recover. I'm allowed to move 1 unit in. That is going to be a core. Oh, I have to lose this one though. I'll move this core. And that puts it to where the Union has to take 1 more city. Now, there are a number of cities within striking distance of Memphis. Can I get to there? I don't think I can get a reinforcement to Memphis. Okay, first of all, the Union's back. 1, 2, 3, 4 cities. I don't think I can get to Memphis. Or anywhere. I don't think I can get anyone to Memphis to garrison it, which then becomes the question of what could I possibly take. Nashville's hard to attack. I could come out 1, 2, 3, 4. No. I can probably launch an attack with affecting terrain across the river. I now have Louisville, so I could drop another unit there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could get that there, so I could easily get a full force there. I don't think I can get to Norfolk. I don't think I can get down to Columbia. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's zones. I'm not cutting through anything there. So yeah, it looks to me like I got a 1 shot at Nashville, and that's where we're going to put all of our effort. Consolidating, 1, 2, 3. I broke down this unit to get an extra strength point there. I don't know if that matters. We'll see. We get a core here. Oh, I know what it does matter, because now I'm on the non-affecting terrain. Because I got a backdoor coming at him. So I do want that in there. So that's 3, 4, 5 to 4. I'm on the +1 table. Cost me 1 for that additional attack. I have 12 points for the +6. So I'm at +1 on +6. Let's see if we get it. This is the game, you know. It's the last operation in the game. And 11, 1 to 3. The Confederates can't hold it. Game over. And the Union wins with their 3 cities that they need to have as victory. Pretty cool. You know, it's funny because when I first started, I thought it was going to be trivial. First of all, I thought it was an automatic victory type situation. That's just how my mind works, you know. You get something, you're good. It's not the way the rules are written. But it's also not trivial to just, you know, take a bunch of oil fields or whatever. There was a significant buildup of Confederates down here to prevent that from happening. We had an early success at Nashville, but otherwise we were kind of blocked. And then with that Confederate sweep across here, this just became not an option anymore. And it became obvious, well, I have to win over in Virginia. Well, the tension that happened over in Virginia was enough that even though the Confederates had a local superiority here, the Union was still able. Basically, this is dead. And is there somewhere we could retreat? We could retreat here. And then there goes a Union unit in there. But yeah, I mean, it was just the positioning of the forces was such, and I have to tell you, that's the geometry side of war games that I don't really like. Especially on the kind of thinky games. I don't feel like this one was very much about that, although that final turn situation was kind of could the Confederates have done something? Did they have a few extra points? Could they have, could they have put this corps so that it's covering Nashville, maybe here, and make it very, very difficult for the Union to get those forces in? I'm not sure. There could have been a more clever play by the Confederates at the end to screen Nashville. Did it really come down to one die roll? Well, it would have taken a 1, I think, for the Confederates to hold that, because they did not have an armored unit there. You're only allowed to advance with 1 unit. So yeah, it was pretty much guaranteed that the Union would win that battle, given the points that are there. That Confederate corps was going to either be destroyed or retreat, and therefore the city falls. But yeah, it turned out a much, much closer battle, game than I thought, and much, much more thinky than I thought. And I think that has more to do with facing a new mechanism. This is really a very different design than most others. And add to that, whatever depressions I'm facing, whatever. But this is... I don't know. It's an interesting game. Part of me says, I should play another scenario of it. But, I didn't enjoy this that much, and I got through these last 2 turns kind of quickly, but like the time they should take. I mean, honestly, the game should take a couple hours, right? But having to face the thinking, to try to acclimate to the new design. What turned out, though, was the Union made some bad attacks early in the game, and I thought that cost them the game. And then the Confederates, by pushing up and spreading their forces out, which maybe they had to do anyway, offered the Union opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise had, maybe. I'm not sure. Because the Union's got a pile of troops they weren't able to get. They were kept on the rocks, or on the ropes, by the AP losses. I'm still kind of thinking, I don't know how much. I mean, it felt like it came down to the wire, but on the other hand, I'm really not sure that I could have defended Nashville all that much better. I used up most of my AP. Another 3 AP, maybe I don't get it. On the other hand, there was an assured shot at victory there. All right, that's that. I'll come back with a review. I'm not going to do more scenarios of it. I feel like I kind of understand the general game. Let me see if any of these scenarios really kind of shock me. So this third one is actually rather big, but the U.S. has a huge advantage on AP, which means the Confederates are not going to be able to do much. The APs were kind of close in this one. I mean, here it's 40-20. Of course, the goals are quite extreme, but I feel like that's going to be probably fairly easy comparatively. Here it's 50-25. What's the CSA trying to do? 6 cities, only one of which New York, Detroit, Chicago, or Omaha. Yeah. it just feels to me like the victory conditions are such that the attacker may have a little bit of an edge in this no matter what. Here we saw one where the attacker had less AP and was still able to get the edge. Now, what happens if I keep last licks for the Confederates instead? Sure, Nashville's a little tougher, but maybe I can pretty much guarantee that I could take it. I'm not sure. Or maybe I could guarantee that I could take Memphis, because I've got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, there's a fairly good chance. Yeah. So maybe it's not that the attacker gets the advantage. It's whoever goes last has a really fundamental built-in bonus there, unless the game is not as close as this one was. I mean, this came down to whether or not the final, how that final turn played out. It was a one-city game, and yeah. I find it intriguing. I really do. I just don't find that it pleasurable particularly, and I'm not sure if that's something that has more to do with my current mood, or if it's the thinkiness of the game that is bothering me. I think it's more to do with my mood, to tell you the truth.